Thank you very much. Are we all back here with all our full attention? Um, as you would see in the agenda, there are many things happening and we are running short of time. And Ms. Satyarthi has also reminded me that she has to run for another important commitment, and therefore we would like to keep it as short, as brief, as pointed as possible. I have had the opportunity to interact with her father, Mr. Kailash Satyarthi, couple of times, but this is the first time with Ms. Satyarthi, so I'm glad that more people are taking forward the idea. And one key idea that she has been running is the idea of compassion, and therefore they have been running a campaign for compassion. How do we bring it? So the first thing I would like her to briefly talk about, what is this idea, why you think it's so important, and how are we going about it? Please.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Mr. Chandra, and I want to thank the entire team for Center for Civil Society for inviting me here. Very important conversation. First of all, I want to give a big round of applause to all the organizers. You guys have been working so hard to put together this beautiful event, and our team tells me that this has been one of the most professionally organized. You're responding very quickly and everything happened so seamlessly. So really want to congratulate you and your team on the event itself. So, our founder, Nobel Laureate Kailash Satyarthi's work over the last 4 decades involves fighting for justice, rights, equality for the most marginalized people of the world. This includes also fighting for education, so leading nationwide marches and global campaigns to fight for education as a fundamental right. And of course, he has, along with colleagues, rescued over 130,000 children from slavery, led to the creation of several mass movements, international legislations like the ILO Convention 182 on the worst forms of child labor, which was a direct result of 7 million people marching across 103 countries, coming together to demand freedom and rights for all children. So, he always said that the force behind everything that he did has been compassion. Now, compassion not as a soft emotion, but the most powerful force where you believe that somebody else's problem is your own problem. I'll say this again. Where you believe that somebody else's pain or suffering is your own. And you have to stand up and take action to solve the problem. And here's how it's different from empathy, right? With empathy, we feel for the other person. We sometimes get overwhelmed, we get emotional. With compassion, what you do is that you take a mindful step. You look at the context of the issue, right? You take mindful and meaningful action, practical, pragmatic action to find a solution which is not only systemic but sustainable in nature, which is why we are very excited about the idea of compassionate education. We're saying, very aligned to what the NEP tells us, right? We're saying that education must be free, must be compulsory, must be meaningful, but at the same time must be accessible and equitable for all. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And this is the point I would like you to talk a little bit more about. And as pointed this conversation, we have the more question answer we can do, is we believe what's happening in current system is when it is supposed to be, education is supposed to be free, though there is cost attached to it. Then in classroom, usually, and the students who lack voice, right? We have had an hierarchy system, and there are people who are not coming from privileged groups or communities or caste or whatever, is उनको ऐसा कहा जाता है कि भाई आपको तो जो फ्री में मिल रहा है वही अच्छा है, लेना है लो, नहीं लो. If we can change that model to what Mr. Sood and Mr. Panda also talked about is a kind of a voucher system or a DBT system or credit card system. We can think about many more ways of doing it, but actually the money goes to students, and when the student takes it to the school and say, hey, it's not free, I'm paying for it, And if you don't give me the right services, I would also move to some other service provider, right? And that we think brings dignity right from the beginning. And therefore, this could be one of the ways to bring the dignity in the day-to-day transaction in education. How would you react to it?
So I think what is very important for us, and I'll take one step back, is to say that education does not exist in isolation. So I loved what the Honorable Minister said, that education must be child-centric in nature. These are real individual human beings and children that we are talking about. So we must look at the entire context of the situation. We must be honest with ourselves, right? We must open our eyes, open our ears, look at the reality. So there's no denying that India has made great strides. We have progressed in different spheres, right? But there is also no denying that millions of people are still being left behind. There is no denying that since the 90s, 10 million, I'm going to say this again, 10 million fetuses were aborted because they happen to be girls. Right? This is the reality that we are facing today. 60% of adolescent girls drop out of school, right? The fact that, I was in our Balashram, which is, the country's first rehabilitation center for children rescued from slavery. I was just reading the local Rajasthan paper. There was a news article which said that this lady, she had been attacked by her family. Her wrists had been slashed. Why? Because she said that she doesn't want to abort her female child. This is the reality. When we're talking about education, we must look at the constraints, the impediments, the complexities, the realities that exist in our great nation. And we must address them in a manner which is both practical as well as meaningful for all. Similarly, caste is a huge issue. So, there's another one of our child leaders called Lalita. She's been one of our Bal Panchayat leaders. So we have this model where children democratically elect a council, right, called the Bal Panchayat. This is the award-winning model, which has been in practice since 2001. So Lalita was our Bal Sarpanch, right? And she was in her school where, because she was a Dalit, she belonged to a lower caste, so-called lower caste of society, she was not allowed to serve food, right? And you know what she did? She did not take it lying down. She went and spoke to the principal. The principal did not support her. She went and she garnered the support of the rest of the Bal Panchayat. Now, the beauty of this model is that it works parallelly with the Gram Panchayat. It works in tandem with the people, the positions of power for that particular community. So she was able to galvanize support, and she was able to break the silence that everybody else was facing. And she went, and not only did she serve the food, now people from her community are actually making the food and serving to higher castes. So what I'm trying to get to is that education does not exist in isolation. We must look at the holistic context, right? And we must empower the beneficiaries. So I think this scheme is a fantastic idea, actually. But alongside this, there must be awareness, there must be sensitization, there must be direct addressal of the impediments that exist that we must speak about. Right? And at the same time, what we notice is, like, for example, our work with nomadic tribes, where we create first-generation school learners, right? Learners. These people have never been to school. They don't have even identification, right? So what we notice is that, yes, giving them identification, even, giving them access to government schemes, social protection, is super impactful. I mean, so many of our girls are now, studying to become police officers, right? The first-generation schoolgoers, they want to fight. But the question is that if the parents were not made aware as to why you should not send your children into child labor, or why you should not get them married, we know that child marriage is a reality. It's nothing but child rape. I think close to 60% girls who do not have access to education is because they've been married off early. So if we empower the children themselves, the youth of the community, but at the same time, we also empower the community itself, right? They say that it takes a village to raise a child. It really does take a community to educate a child.
Thank you. These are very powerful words. And more than that, I think very powerful practices that the campaign has adopted. My third and final question will be, when we think about compassion, dignity, the question happens to be, if we really want to create a generation which is more compassionate, which takes care of each other, where there is harmony in the society, we need to bring into practice in classrooms. Would you have some ideas, or would you like to talk about how some of the school leaders who are sitting here, they may like to bring it in practice, compassion in practice in classroom?
100%. So, we launched this movement, Satyarthi Movement for Global Compassion, last year in March, and it has been a beautiful journey. So we are creating something called the Compassion Quotient. We did a roundtable with academics from all over the world, and we garnered great support, and we are working on the tool itself. What we've also been doing is, trying to really identify how compassion can be a practical force. Really learn from our work for over the last 40 years, bring it into judiciary, bring it into education, bring it into different spheres, right? Now, we got together a group of 15 Supreme Court justices who deliberated on the idea of compassionate justice, which means fast, fair, equitable justice delivery. And very similarly, we are launching a campaign this year, next year. We are getting together to talk about compassionate education. With NCRT, we have already started developing a teacher training module on how to bring in compassion in our classrooms, right? Which is very exciting. It's going to reach 24 lakh teachers around the world. In India, and now we want to also scale this globally. We just did a conference at the UN General Assembly where there were prime ministers, presidents present, and also the Secretary General of the International Parliamentary Union. So our plan is to actually address policymakers and parliamentarians themselves. So very aligned. Our NEP is beautiful, but how do we bring it into practice? These words all sound beautiful, accessible, equitable, etc. But how do we really do this? How do we create a practical roadmap? It has to begin with our classrooms. It has to begin with our teachers. It has to begin with our parents. As we know, mental health is such a huge challenge. This is not even anymore about income levels. The most affluent schools in Delhi, over 60% kids are, struggling with depression and anxiety. It wasn't like that in the 90s when we were growing up, right? We would watch our Doordarshan cartoons and, we had struggles, but it was nothing like what kids are facing today. This is another impediment. AI and, social media we speak about. That's a real practical situation. AI is going to impact education in such a massive way. We have to be ahead of the curve. So when we say compassion is problem solving, that's what we mean. Like, how do we use, social media or AI to our advantage? All of us have lost focus. I don't know. We are also in the habit of this, constant engagement with social media, not able to sit and read, right? As adults. So just imagine the impact it's going to have on generations to come, and we're already seeing it. So let's bring all these realities into everything that we decide to do. We are very excited to be working with schools and, teachers from both in India and internationally. I have some of my colleagues here. Ishika's here. Shiv Kumar Sharma ji is here. We'd love to work with all of you and bring our modules to you. And also with you, we want to work on creating action-based research as to the role, the role compassion can play in, inculcating a culture of problem solving. And problem solving where we look at systemic and sustainable solutions together.
Thank you very much. Guys, this is time to put our hands together for wonderful work
and
being
all
done
of you.
by
Thank you.
Kailash Satyarthi Movement. This is